Theories of personal selling. This part we had kept aside. Let us get started with the concepts. Personal selling has a very different tradition, and it is a you can say primitive phase of marketing concept development. But even then, when the first time it was evolved, it was essentially a very practical approach towards selling, and it really led to a very wonderful, you can say, achievements for the people in the market. All the confidence a person in the marketing gets is through personal selling experience. The personal selling experience is so strong that it can outcast other theories also, because then finally the salesman takes it challenge as his personal challenge or lifetime challenge in terms of converting a prospect into close-up sale. There is a theory called AIDA's theory of selling. Right set of circumstances, buying formula theory, and behavioral equation theory. Let us understand how we really can understand all the aspects of this and how we relate it to our current situation in which we can really relate ourselves to the things. They are nothing else but you can say short forms of all these words. A stands for attract attention. Second is sustaining interest. Interest development is important. It should be maintained after attraction. Creating desire. That is very important. If desire can be created, you can really go ahead with further process in selling. Then inducting action, like in advertising we say call for action. Here you induce the action, and after the delivery you develop a satisfaction, you build it. So it is called as AIDA. Now attracting attention, sustaining interest, and creating desire. For every product, every service, it is completely different. It requires a lot of planning. It requires a lot of you can say connectivity and networking to the market, and the attraction part comes through a valid and interesting product information. Now to remain interested in a particular product is connected to the desire of the consumer, and so if it is not happening properly, salespeople would create a desire for your product in that particular customer. That is the most crucial part of it. And then inducting action is nothing else but why that person is holding the desire. One has to identify and find out. So in that case, you are going to clarify the objections by the customers. Actually, they are not objections, but there are some doubts or some queries, or not so sure to finally convert into paying the money and buying the product. So in such case, this inducting action is very, very important. Desire creation is quite easy, but inducting action requires a lot of smartness and right time, right mood of the customer. All this, if it is done very properly in an integrated manner, satisfaction is built up, and generally it grows if you really go ahead with after sales activity with the consumer. The second aspect of the theory was right set of circumstances and how it is used in personal selling. So in this case, this theory can be summarized as everything was right for that sale sort of situation. All the parameters of selling situation turn out to be positive, and so you call right state of circumstances, or also called as situation response theory. And this situation is buying situation, purchasing situation, where most of the parameters are in favor of your product or service. In particular circumstance, we respond in a particular way. That's true. And so a salesperson needs to present proper stimuli or appeal so that desired response is generated. That is the skill of a salesperson. What stimuli would lead to what response, that study has to be there with the salesperson. And today, that is the most difficult thing, because people are living double life, virtual life and real life. So I may be talking about Mercedes-Benz on Facebook, but in my real life I might be not even using bike, but then I maintain such type of profile. So which stimuli would lead to which type of reaction, response, is the challenge of 21st century. Desired response has to be resulted. That means the person has to inquire further, understand the payment system, and go ahead with buying the product. And in this situation, what is more important is that this holds seller orientation only. It will connect with the customer, but from sales point of view only. There are external factors and internal factors. We call them extrinsic and intrinsic marketing factors. So, where the focus on the external factors at the expense of internal factors is sometimes done. There are invariably some internal factors for the buyer for not to buy or to buy. But there are some good external factors also which force you to buy that product, so it becomes a right situation. This theory is also called as situation response theory. Had its psychological origin in experiments with animals. It holds that the particular circumstances prevailing in a given selling situation cause the prospect to responding a predictable way. So it is called conditioned response. Means if you will motivate like this, it is going to be supported like that. So much so that action is nothing else but close of deal and buying of your product. So it is called situation response theory. More of demonstrative products, kitty club products, household products, they really go with this logic, and the desire with logic sustains more in the mind of customer, because a person thinks beyond price for such products. So if the salesperson succeeds in securing the attention and gaining the interest of the prospect, and if the salesperson presents the proper stimuli or appeals, the desired response will result. This happens most of the time with the consumer durables with females, housewives. That is true, because then he starts talking with such a stimuli that women, housewives, are interested into that type of product information. They may buy it or they may not buy it, but they want to explore more. Similarly, we do window shopping. We may not enter the mall, but from the road, from the glasses, we would simply watch, imagine ourselves, and plan or dream that I'm using such a product, or I'm enjoying such a product. Furthermore, the more skilled a salesperson is in handling the set of circumstances, the more predictable is the response. The set of circumstances include factors like external and internal to the prospect. Prospect means the possible customer. For him, what is that external factor which motivates him? For him, what is that internal factors which is holding him? So suppose a salesperson sells to the prospect, let us go out for lunch. So one simple example, these people have theoretically put it here. It generally goes with the B2B type of marketing, you can see. The salesperson and the remarks are the external factors. But at least 4 factors internal to the prospect affect the response. These are the presence or absence of desires. My priority to go for lunch will be decided on how sharp is my desire to go for that product. So these are the 4 different states in giving response. I have to decide first to go out for lunch. Should I go or not to go? Should I show my interest by joining the lunch with the salesman so as to assure that I want to know more? Now, second is, I have the desire, but should I do it now? The sense of time. If I do it now, it means I'm changing my priority and it is urgent. Third very important thing is we are changing the context, the frame against which a salesperson and a buyer are talking. To going out changes your situation, and you enter into a new situation where again newness, openness is there for discussion about the product. And lastly, going with the salesperson will create some message, internal or external, for this customer. So this response is completely planned according to these basic four, you can say, questions, statements prospective customer is thinking about. So you have to understand how to use this stimuli, where and when, and whether the customer will respond to it or not. Proponents of this theory tend to stress external factors at the expense of internal factors. They seek selling appeals that evoke desired response. Sales personnel who try to apply the theory experience difficulty traceable to internal factors in many selling situations. But the internal factors are not readily manipulated. This is seller-oriented theory. It stresses the importance of the salesperson controlling the situation, does not handle the problem of influencing the factor that are internal to the prospect, and maybe fails to assign appropriate weight to the response side of the situation response interaction. Sometimes, being too personal with a customer can lead to a good relationship in terms of CRM. But all internal factors may be manipulated or may not be. We really don't know. If we force people on that, it is very difficult. In my lecture that day, when I was quickly rushing towards this, I mentioned you to a person who comes to our college and talks to us. He sells only rugs and carpets. He has not changed. He has a diary and a bill book, and he writes everything. He has a mobile phone, but he doesn't use a high-end mobile phone. He has a list, and every time he repeats the same customer, does follow up once in a year, and he will just try to create desire. That's all. If the desire is created, then he will simply talk about delivery, date of delivery. Now, date of delivery is an indication that you are in the process of deciding something, and so tell me the date, when do you want and all that. That means you now tell me what you are going to buy. They will say, what is so creative in this selling? खरंच काय creative नाही याच्यावर. But the way he explains the things and keeps on following while discussing with each other, we as customers think obliged about his efforts. असे फिरून डोर टू डोर येणारे जे सेल्सचे लोक असतात त्यांच्याबद्दल मला खूप आदर आहे, कारण की ते न कंटाळता आणि न अपमान मानून घेता कायम प्रयत्न करत राहतात. सेम इज द केस विथ ऑटोमोबाईल कार सेलर्स. त्याच्यामध्ये तर जास्ती करून अलीकडे इंजिनियर्स लागतात, कारण की त्यांना कारचं इंजिनिअरिंग एक्सप्लेन करता आलं पाहिजे, कार ड्राईव्ह करता आली पाहिजे, आणि एवढं सगळं करून तुम्हाला क्लोज करता आलं पाहिजे डील. 1999 to 2001 या पिरियडमध्ये मी एका खूप मोठ्या कार ब्रँडच्या टीमबरोबर काम केलंय. त्यांचं मोटिवेशन, प्रॉस्पेक्ट, त्यांच्या मीटिंग आणि चर्चा वगैरे. तर मी असं बघितलं की खूप फ्रस्ट्रेटेड असतात. आत्ता सुद्धा लास्ट इयर आपल्या स्किलच्या पेपरला एका गेस्टला आम्ही आणलं होतं, आणि आपला एक स्टुडंट आहे, साई सर्व्हिसला काम करतो. सो द वे दे थिंक वर्क अँड ऑल दॅट CRM थिंक तर हार्ड कोर सेलिंग आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये खूप डेटा फॉलोअप आणि हे सगळं करावं लागतं. Things are changed after COVID, but salesmanship will never change as long as a salesman has a passion. Coming to buying formula theory. Buying formula theory emphasizes the buyer's side of the buyer-seller triad. हा एक दुहेरी दुवा आहे. Buyers need or problems and receive the major attention, and the salesperson role is to find out the solution. Buying formula. That could be a schematic presentation of a group of responses arranged in a psychological sequence. It's very important. It emphasizes the prospect response in a psychological logic. So buying formula theory has a simplest model need. solution and purchase.